Okay, we'll sort of call this take one. This is about photography, and the reason I'm doing it is that one of my teenage children wanted to learn about photography, and I realised that when I was a teenager I had the advantage of very simple film cameras. Today most things, particularly on mobile phone cameras, are emulated effects that were related really to the restrictions of a film camera. So let's start by looking at this. This is the first camera I bought when I was at school. Whoops. And it's a very, very simple camera. So the film goes in the back. So you would put the film in here, and you would somehow or another get it to connect to this end by finding a little springy thing that it tucks underneath like that, and you'd wind it into the camera. Once you got about there, you'd shut the back of the camera. So, the film's light sensitive, and every picture the film winds on and it exposes a bit of the film. Later on, when you've got to the end of the film, you press a button on the top to release the film winding mechanism, and you wind it back into the cassette. It'll go in a minute, there it goes. And then you take the cassette out of the camera. Obviously you open the back first, and you take it off to the shop to have it processed, or you process it yourself. Now, one great advantage with SLRs over DSLRs is the dust issue. So in a DSLR, which is a camera that looks pretty much the same but it's digital, instead of the film you've got a digital sensor, and once the digital sensor picks up a microscopic speck of dust, it shows up until you can get it off, and often it's like trying to get a very resistant bug off a windscreen. So how does this work? Well, the camera itself really only has one thing that you can adjust. Obviously it's a box that you can screw the lens on the front. The light goes in through the lens and hits the film here. So it has a shutter. With the very early cameras, you just covered up the lens with something till you wanted to take the picture, lifted it off and counted for a bit because they were very slow exposure films, and then you put it back on. But with this, well, you can open a shutter after every time you've wound the film on. So we'll wind the film on, although it isn't in there, and then you may be able to see what happens with the shutter. It's the thing in the middle. Okay, it's very slow, and I'll do it again. So it's like two curtains of a window. So the window is closed with the left-hand curtain drawn all the way over to the right. And it draws, and then the right-hand curtain, I'm afraid that's going a bit quick, I couldn't slow that down as much as the other one. The right-hand curtain draws to the left, and this is called a focal plane shutter. There's another type of shutter that goes inside the lens, but single lens reflexes have a focal plane shutter. So we'll do that a bit more quickly, and what you're actually getting is not so much an opening and shutting, but a slot of light travelling across the film. So you can change the speed of the shutter here, and that's just the amount of time that the shutter is open for, and that's theoretically in hundredths of a second, but because of this business of a slot of light travelling across, it's actually possible to get what treats the film as a much faster shutter speed without the shutter moving as fast, because it's only the little bit between the two curtains that's exposing light to the film. So you've got this very primitive camera. It's got no meters, no battery, no bits and pieces. Really the only other knob, which probably won't work due to the age of the camera, is this one here, and this is a timer. And theoretically, as you now run round to the back to be taken with your friends, and it did take the picture. Well, surprising. After 50 years or whatever, it still seems to work. Now, hang on, I'm going to pause that there.